Liam O'Connell had it all: a grand estate, a billion-euro tech empire, the unwavering respect of his peers. Yet, arriving home that day, the soft lilt of a song stopped him cold. In the drawing room, his daughter Aoife was singing with the cleaner. And in that very instant, the tech mogul understood what he had truly lost. His sleek black limousine pulled up to the automatic gates of his sprawling Kildare estate at precisely 7:43 a.m. Liam didn't even wait for the chauffeur to open his door. He strode out in a hurry, phone glued to his ear, sealing yet another 8-figure deal, before he'd even stepped inside his own home. "Confirm the meeting with the London investors for 3 p.m. and tell the legal department I want those contracts reviewed by noon," his voice commanded. His voice echoed through the grand entrance hall as he crossed the polished marble floor, eyes fixed straight ahead. 42 years old, CEO of one of the country's leading tech firms, Liam had built his empire from the ground up. Every second was worth thousands of euros. Every decision shifted fortunes. He was unstoppable. "Daddy?" The high-pitched voice came from the sweeping staircase. Little Alf tumbled down the steps, her bright yellow dress swaying with each bounce. She was 4 years old, with that wide, innocent smile of a child who still believed her father was a superhero. Liam's gaze flickered from his phone for half a second. "Hi, Princess. Daddy's busy right now." He offered a brief, dismissive wave and turned towards his study. Aoife halted halfway down the stairs, her smile wilting like a flower deprived of water. Her tiny hands clutched a drawing she'd made especially for him: a yellow sun, a crooked house, 3 stick figures. "But I made a drawing for you." Her voice barely reached Liam's ears, as he was already closing the study door behind him. On the paper, the little girl had drawn herself, her father, and a woman in an apron. Beneath it, in large, wobbly letters, it read, "My family." Aoife stood there, staring at the closed door. After a few silent seconds, she slowly descended the rest of the stairs and made her way to the kitchen, where an older woman in a uniform was preparing breakfast. "Nanny Maeve, Daddy didn't want to see my drawing again." The housekeeper sighed, wiping her hands on her apron. She had worked in that house for 6 years and had witnessed this very scene unfold almost daily. "Your daddy is very busy, pet. He works so hard to give you everything lovely. But I don't want everything lovely. I want Daddy." The words came out so pure, so honest, that Maeve felt a pang in her chest. Before she could reply, the doorbell chimed. "That'll be the new cleaner. Go play in the drawing room, love. He'll get it." Aoife shuffled her feet to the massive drawing room, a cavernous space filled with pristine white sofas where no one ever truly sat. She flopped onto the rug, surrounded by scattered toys, dolls, cars, imported games. She had everything, except what she truly yearned for. At the door, Maeve opened it to a woman of simple appearance. Worn jeans, a plain white blouse, brown hair tied back in a neat ponytail. She carried an old canvas bag slung across her body, and in her eyes was that familiar blend of determination and weariness, a mark of one who fought daily for survival. "Good morning. I'm Roisin. I'm here for the cleaner's position." "Come in, love. We've been expecting you." Roisin stepped into the house and felt as though she'd entered another universe entirely. The crystal chandelier in the hall, the sweeping marble staircases, the paintings on the walls, everything screamed luxury, power, and a vast distance from the real world where she lived. "The house is quite large. You'll be responsible for general cleaning, bedroom organization, and laundry. We discussed the salary over the phone." "Yes, ma'am. You can count on me. I'll do a good job." Roisin needed this job more than anything. A single mother to a 7-year-old boy, she worked in 3 different homes just to afford the rent for a tiny flat in a working-class estate on the outskirts of Dublin. But she didn't complain, never had. Life had already stripped her of things far more precious than material comfort. "You can start with the upstairs bedrooms. I'll show you where the cleaning supplies are." As Maeve explained the routine, Aoife appeared at the kitchen door, observing Roisin with that typical childlike curiosity. The woman offered her a genuine, warm smile. "Hello, dote. What's your name?" "Aoife. What a beautiful name. I'm Roisin. I'll be working here now." "Will you live here?" "No, love. I'll come every morning and leave in the afternoon." Aoife nodded, but kept watching her. There was something different about this woman, something in her eyes, a genuine kindness. Not the cool politeness of the previous nannies who just did their job and went home. The following week settled into a mechanical routine. Liam left before sunrise and returned when Aoife was already asleep. When they did cross paths in the corridor on weekends, he'd give her a quick pat on the head and continue his phone conversation. The little girl no longer even tried to show him her drawings. Roisin, for her part, worked in silence. She cleaned, organized, tidied, but couldn't help but notice. That enormous estate was filled with everything, except what truly mattered. There were no peals of laughter, no animated conversations, no life. One morning, while cleaning the drawing room, Roisin found Aoife sitting on the floor, surrounded by toys, yet playing with none of them. The girl merely stared at the door to her father's study, closed as always. "Hello, Aoife. Why aren't you playing?" "I don't feel like it." Roisin stopped what she was doing and sat on the rug beside her. Something in her chest tightened. She knew that look. It was the same look she'd seen in the mirror years ago. "Do you know what I used to do when I was sad at your age?" Aoife looked at her curiously. "I sang. My mother always said music was a cure for any sadness. Do you know how to sing a little bit?" In truth, Roisin knew far more than a little bit, but that was a secret, long buried. A dream she'd had to abandon when life forced her to choose between her art and survival. "Sing for me." Roisin hesitated. It had been years since she'd sung for anyone, but she looked into those sad, pleading eyes and couldn't refuse. She started softly, almost a whisper, a simple tune about little birds and wildflowers. Her voice, even restrained, possessed something special, a sweetness that soothed, an emotion that touched deep within. Aoife's eyes widened. She had never heard anything like it. In the estate, only classical pieces played softly in the background. But this was different. This had soul. "Again! Sing it again!" Roisin chuckled and sang, and for the first time in weeks, Aoife truly smiled. In his study, Liam furiously typed on his computer. Reports, spreadsheets, projections. The entire world seemed to depend on his decisions. He was important, he was essential, he was alone, but he had no time to ponder that. He had a company to run, an empire to uphold. Sentiments were a luxury men like him couldn't afford. Outside, unbeknownst to him, something was beginning. Something small, delicate, yet powerful. A connection, a bridge being built between two lonely souls through the universal language that mends all pain, music. And soon, very soon, that sound would penetrate even the thickest walls Liam had constructed around his heart. The following week passed like all the others in the estate. Liam left before dawn and returned when Aoife was already asleep. Aoife awoke, ate breakfast, prepared by Maid, the cook, played alone in her room, filled with expensive toys she'd never asked for, and drifted to sleep, lulled by the stories Roisin invented before leaving. The routine was mechanical, predictable, empty. But on Thursday morning, something different happened. Roisin arrived at the estate carrying something unusual, a worn fabric bag she held with special care. Maeve raised an eyebrow, seeing her enter the kitchen with the extra bulk, but said nothing. Roisin had her mysteries, and everyone there had learned to respect them. After cleaning the drawing room, the library, and Liam's study, which he rarely used, Roisin went upstairs to tidy Aoife's bedroom. The little girl was sitting on the plush rug, surrounded by dozens of imported dolls, but playing only with an old music box she'd found in some forgotten corner of the house. When its lid opened, an awkward ballerina spun to a melancholic tune. "Good morning, princess." Roisin greeted her with that smile that brightened any room. Aoife looked up, and her little face immediately lit up. "Auntie Roisin, you came." "Of course I did. I promised I'd be back, didn't I?" Roisin knelt beside the little girl. "What are you doing there?" "This ballerina dances all by herself," Aoife explained with the serious earnestness characteristic of 4-year-olds. "But she must be sad because she's dancing without real music." Roisin felt a squeeze in her chest. That little girl, so small and so perceptive, could see sadness even in inanimate objects. Perhaps because she knew that feeling all too well herself. "You know, Aoife, I brought something today that might make your ballerina happier." The girl's eyes widened. "What?" Roisin went to her bag and, with reverent care, pulled out a dark wooden acoustic guitar. The instrument wasn't new. It had a few scratches on its side and slightly worn strings, but it was treated with such tenderness that it seemed like a precious relic. "Is that a guitar?" Aoife asked, approaching with curiosity. "It's a guitar, pet. It makes real music, not like the music box." Roisin quickly tuned the strings with the deftness of someone who had done it thousands of times. "Want to hear?" Aoife nodded with such energy that her blonde curls bounced. Roisin smiled, positioned her fingers on the strings, and began to play. The melody that filled the room was sweet and enveloping, like a sonic embrace. The notes flowed with disarming ease, and Roisin's voice, when it joined the chords, possessed an unexpected beauty. She sang a simple song about little birds flying freely through the sky, about the sun waking up each day to play with the clouds, about dreams hiding beneath pillows, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Aif stood mesmerized, her mouth slightly agape, and her eyes shining like two stars. When the last note dissolved into the air, the little girl whispered, "Are you magic?" Roisin chuckled, but there was a hint of melancholy in her laughter. "No, pet, I just know how to play a little. Can you teach me?" The question came laden with such pure hope that Roisin felt a knot in her throat. "You really want to learn?" "Yes, I really, really do." Aifa clasped her tiny hands together as if making a wish to the universe. Roisin looked at the child, who lived surrounded by luxury yet starved of attention, and made a decision that would change everything. "Then I'll teach you. But it has to be our secret. All right? Like our own special club, a secret music club." Aifa clapped her hands, radiant. That morning, while the rest of the house maintained its impeccable, distant routine, something extraordinary began to blossom in the pink bedroom, filled with forgotten toys. Roisin taught Aifa how to hold the guitar, even though the instrument was too large for her small arms. She showed her how the strings produced different sounds when plucked, how each note had its own voice. "This one here is the plumpest," Roisin explained, pointing to the lowest string. "It makes a really deep sound, like a daddy talking." Aifa plucked the string and giggled. "It's true! And this thin one? This one is high-pitched, like a little bird singing in the morning." The following days brought a quiet, yet profound, transformation. Every morning, after Liam left, Roisin went up to Aifa's room, and the two would immerse themselves in their secret world of music. The little girl learned quickly, with that natural ease of children who discover something they truly love. But it wasn't just about music. It was about having someone who would sit on the floor with her, who would look her in the eyes when she spoke, who would laugh at her silly jokes and applaud every small achievement. It was about being seen, being heard, being important to someone. Roisin began teaching simple songs, and Aifa memorized the lyrics with impressive speed. Her childish voice, still a little out of tune and trembling, gained confidence each day. And whenever they finished a practice session, the little girl would ask, "More tomorrow, Auntie Roisin." And Roisin, even knowing it was dangerous, that she was growing too attached, that eventually everything could crumble, always replied, "More tomorrow, my love." What Roisin didn't tell Aifa was that this guitar had a history. Years ago, when she still had dreams of her own, she had been a musician. Not famous, not wealthy, but talented enough to play in small pubs and traditional music venues, to make people stop talking and simply listen. Music was her life, her identity, her reason for waking up each day, until life decided to test her resilience in ways she never imagined possible. Bills piled up, opportunities dried out, and Roisin found herself forced to choose between her dreams and her survival. The guitar, her faithful companion of so many years, ended up at the back of the wardrobe, alongside the hopes she could no longer afford to nurture. But now, seeing Aifa hold that same guitar with eyes full of enchantment, Roisin felt something rekindle within her. It wasn't about fulfilling the dream she had lost. It was about helping someone else discover their own. On Friday of that week, something unexpected happened. Aifa was singing alone in her room when Maid, the cook, came upstairs to announce that lunch was ready. The woman paused in the corridor, surprised by the sweet voice drifting through the half-open door. When she stepped into the room and saw the scene, her mouth fell open. But when did the little one start singing like that? Roisin and Aifa exchanged a knowing glance. "It's our secret club," Aifa explained with utmost seriousness. "But you can join if you like, Auntie Maid." Maid, a woman in her late 50s who had worked in the house for nearly a decade, sat on the bed, tears welling in her eyes. "I've never seen the child so happy," she whispered to Roisin. "You have a gift, girl." But Roisin merely shook her head. "The gift is hers. I'm just helping it to blossom." While that parallel universe of music and affection bloomed on the second floor of the estate, Liam continued his frenetic routine of meetings, negotiations, and corporate victories. He arrived home too late to hear his daughter sing, left too early to see her smile upon waking. Financial reports occupied his bedside table, emails filled his sleepless nights, and Aifa remained just another well-organized responsibility managed by competent staff. Until one Monday, everything changed. Liam had a meeting unexpectedly cancelled. The client flying in from Tokyo had to postpone their trip due to a typhoon, and for the first time in months, Liam found himself with a free afternoon. He returned home at 3 p.m., something absolutely unprecedented. As he entered through the main door, his footsteps echoed in the empty entrance hall. Maeve wasn't in the kitchen, likely out shopping. The house was quiet, but not entirely. From the second floor came a sound, a gentle guitar melody, accompanied by two voices, one mature and in tune, the other childlike and full of enchanting effort. Liam ascended the stairs without a sound, guided by the music that seemed to come from another world. He approached Aife's bedroom, its door ajar, and froze. There was Roisin, sitting on the rug with the guitar in her lap, playing and singing. And beside her, with a toy microphone clutched in her tiny hands and eyes sparkling with pure joy, was his daughter Aife, singing every word as if it were the most important thing in the universe. Liam's heart stopped. Liam stood motionless in the corridor, as if his feet had grown roots into the Italian marble floor. His right hand clutched the leather briefcase he carried everywhere, but his fingers had lost their grip. The briefcase slipped, falling to the floor with a dull thud that echoed through the silent house. The sound instantly silenced the music. Roisin looked up, and her face blanched as she saw Liam standing in the doorway. The guitar nearly slipped from her grasp. Aife, on the other hand, turned with a radiant smile that lit up her entire face. "Daddy!" The little girl dropped the toy microphone and ran towards her father with open arms. "You're home early. Want to hear me sing? Auntie Roisin taught me." Liam remained frozen, unable to process the scene he had just witnessed. His daughter, that little girl he barely knew beyond the routine reports Maeve sent him, was there, vibrant with happiness, talking about music as if it were the most significant discovery in the world. He began, but didn't know how to finish the sentence. Roisin quickly rose, tucking the guitar into her bag with hurried movements. Her eyes avoided Liam's, and her hands trembled slightly. "Mr. O'Connell, I sincerely apologize. I shouldn't have brought instruments into the house without your permission. It was completely inappropriate of me." "No!" Aife clutched the hem of Roisin's skirt in desperation. "Auntie Roisin can't stop teaching me. She promised we were going to put on a real show." The little girl's voice was laced with panic, that kind of fear children feel when something precious is about to be snatched from them. Liam recognized that expression. It was the same one he saw in the mirror during the rare moments he allowed himself to look beyond numbers and spreadsheets. The fear of losing something valuable. "Aife, darling, go play in your walk-in wardrobe for a moment," Liam said, his voice softer than he intended. "I need to speak with Roisin." "But Daddy now." "Aife." The little girl looked at Roisin, tears welling in her eyes. Then she reluctantly obeyed, shuffling her feet across the room until she disappeared behind the door of the gigantic walk-in wardrobe that looked more like a child's department store. The silence that settled in the room was dense, heavy with tension. Roisin kept her head down, awaiting the inevitable reprimand, perhaps even dismissal. She knew full well the invisible boundaries that separated employers from employees. She had crossed every one of them. Liam finally moved, stepping into the bedroom and closing the door behind him. When he spoke, his voice was strangely controlled. "How long has this been going on?" "2 weeks, sir," Roisin replied softly. "And you? Are you a musician?" The question caught Roisin off guard. She raised her eyes, meeting Liam's gaze for the first time. There was no anger there, only something she couldn't decipher, confusion, perhaps, or curiosity. "I was," she corrected, "a musician a long time ago." Liam walked to the window, observing the perfectly manicured garden below. His mind raced at maximum speed, processing information, analyzing situations, doing what he did best, solving problems. But this wasn't a business negotiation. It was his daughter. It was something that didn't fit into spreadsheets or contracts. "Why did you stop?" he asked without turning around. Roisin hesitated. This wasn't a conversation she should be having with her employer, but there was something in the way he asked, a vulnerability hidden beneath his authority that made her answer with honesty. "Life happened, Mr. O'Connell. Bills don't pay themselves. Dreams don't feed anyone. I had a small daughter to raise alone, and music didn't cover the expenses. So, I put away the guitar and learned to clean houses." Liam turned slowly. My daughter lives with her grandmother in County Clare now. She attends a good local primary school there. She has a better life than I could provide here in the city. I work to send her money every month to ensure she has the opportunities I never had." Roisin's voice wavered, but she didn't look away. "Aife reminds me so much of her. The same age, the same curiosity. That's why I started teaching, because I know what it's like to grow up feeling invisible." The words hit Liam like a punch to the gut. He opened his mouth to reply, but no sound came out. How could he argue against a truth he knew so well himself? Aif was invisible in her own home. He had made her invisible. "My daughter was happy," he finally said, and there was a mixture of admiration and pain in those words. "I walked into this house, and for the first time I can remember, my daughter was truly happy, not politely content, not occupied with expensive distractions, but genuinely happy." Roisin didn't know what to say. She remained silent, waiting. "Do you know what's most pathetic?" Liam continued, turning back to the window. "I didn't know she liked music. I didn't know she had an interest in singing. I don't even know my daughter's favorite color." Roisin, "I built a €1 billion empire. I closed deals across 3 continents. But I can't have a 5-minute conversation with my own 4-year-old daughter." The confession hung in the air like a sentence. Liam had finally admitted aloud what he had avoided confronting for years. The pain in his voice was palpable, real, human. "She loves yellow," Roisin said softly. "That's why she wears that yellow dress whenever she can. And she loves when I tell her stories about stars that come down from the sky to play with children before returning home. And she's afraid of the dark, but she doesn't tell anyone because she thinks big girls aren't supposed to be scared." Each word was a revelation, a piece of his daughter that Liam should have known but didn't. He clenched his fists, fighting against the wave of emotions that threatened to crumble the wall he had built around his heart. "I don't want you to stop," he said suddenly, surprising himself as much as Roisin. "With the lessons, keep teaching my daughter." Roisin blinked, confused. "Mr. O'Connell, you are giving her something I cannot give, something she clearly needs." Liam turned, his eyes slightly moist. "But I have one condition." "Anything, Mr. O'Connell. I want to watch. Not every day. I know my schedule won't allow it. But when I can get home earlier, I want to be here. I want to see my daughter be happy. I want to learn who she truly is." Roisin felt tears well up, but she smiled. "It would be an honor." The walk-in wardrobe door slowly opened, and Oif peeked out, her eyes red from silently crying. "Auntie Roisin will keep teaching me." "Daddy?" Liam knelt, bringing himself to his daughter's level. The gesture was so unusual, so outside his comfort zone, that Afa hesitated before approaching. "Yes, princess, she will. And do you know what? Your daddy will watch sometimes. Will you let him?" Aif's face lit up like a sunrise. "I will, but you have to sit on the floor with us. It's a secret club rule." Liam chuckled, a rough, genuine sound he hadn't made in years. "A secret club rule? How many rules does this club have?" "Lots." Aife ran and took Roisin's hand and Liam's, trying to join them. "And the first rule is that everyone has to hold hands when the music ends. It's like a magic thank you." Roisin and Liam exchanged a look over Aife's head, and something passed between them. It wasn't romantic, it wasn't inappropriate, it was mutual recognition. Two people who had sacrificed their dreams for survival, unexpectedly finding a way back through the hopeful eyes of a child. "Then let's do this properly," Liam said, settling onto the plush rug in the room. "How do these lessons work?" Aife clapped her hands and ran to fetch Roisin's guitar. For the first time in 4 years, Liam was truly present. Roisin took the instrument and began to play a soft melody. Aife joined in with her little voice, still unsure, but full of enthusiasm. And Liam, the ruthless CEO who commanded hundreds of employees, sat on the floor of his daughter's bedroom, silent tears streaming down his face, discovering what it truly meant to be rich. When the music ended, Aife insisted on the club rule. The three held hands, forming a small circle on the rug. Aife's warm little hand in his, the unexpected strength in Roisin's calloused hand. All of it made something within Liam begin to crumble and rebuild simultaneously. "Thank you for teaching me, Auntie Roisin," Aife said solemnly. "Thank you for wanting to learn, my love, and thank you, Daddy, for staying. It was the best surprise ever." Liam squeezed his daughter's hand gently, as if she were made of crystal. "I'm sorry it took me so long to get here, princess." In that moment, in that room filled with expensive, forgotten toys, something fundamental shifted. Liam didn't yet know how he would balance this with his corporate responsibilities. He had no answers for the challenges to come, but for the first time in years, he knew exactly where he wanted to be. There on the floor, holding his daughter's hand while the music still lingered in the air. The journey of transformation had only just begun, and it would be far more challenging than any negotiation Liam had ever faced. The days that followed that transformative afternoon brought subtle, yet profound, changes to the dynamic of the estate. Liam began arriving home by 6 p.m., at least 3 times a week, something Maeve remarked was a miracle comparable to the loaves and fishes. Aif lived counting the minutes on the drawing room clock, waiting for the moment she would hear the familiar hum of her father's car pulling into the garage. But the real change was unfolding in that second-floor bedroom, where three such different people found common ground through music. It was a rainy Thursday when everything changed again. Liam had managed to leave an early video conference with investors from Berlin. He ascended the stairs with a lightness he hadn't felt in years, eager to attend another session of the secret club, as Ife insisted on calling it. But as he approached the bedroom, he realized something was different. There was no music, only soft, emotional voices. He paused at the half-open door and heard Ife asking, "But doesn't your daughter get sad being away from you, Auntie Roisin?" There was a long pause. Liam discreetly peeked in and saw Roisin sitting on the floor, hugging the guitar to her chest as if it were a shield. Her face was wet with tears. "She does, my love, just as I get sad being away from her. But sometimes, when you truly love someone, you have to make difficult choices to give them a better life." "Like what?" Oif was sitting very close to Roisin, with that serious expression children make when trying to understand adult matters. "Like working far away to pay for a good school, warm clothes, medicine when she needs it. Her granny takes very good care of her, you know? And every Sunday I call, and we chat. She tells me about her lessons, her friends, the books she's reading." "How old is she?" 9. "Her name's Aisling." Liam felt a pang in his chest. Aisling. Roisin's daughter had a name, an age, dreams. While he worried about mergers and acquisitions, that humble woman cleaning his house was sacrificing time with her own child just to survive. "I want to meet Aisling," Ife said with the brutal sincerity of children. "I think we'd be friends." "Does she like music too?" Roisin let out a wet laugh. "She adores it. Sings better than me, believe it or not. She has such a beautiful voice that her school teachers are always asking her to perform. So, she takes after you." Afe clapped her hands. "Like when Daddy says I take after his stubbornness." That's when Liam decided to enter. He tapped lightly on the already open door, and the two women turned. Roisin immediately wiped her tears and tried to compose a professional expression, but Liam raised a hand. "No need to pretend, Roisin. I apologize for interrupting a private moment. Daddy." Afe ran to him. "Auntie Roisin has a daughter who sings just like us, but she lives far away with her granny. That's sad, isn't it?" Liam knelt beside his daughter. "It is very sad, princess. Very sad indeed." He looked at Roisin, who remained seated on the floor, vulnerable in a way she would never normally allow herself to be in front of an employer. Liam made a decision in that moment. One of those decisions that didn't stem from corporate logic, but from something deeper and more human. "Roisin, may I ask you a personal question?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Why did you stop playing professionally? I mean, I've seen you play. You have extraordinary talent. What happened?" Roisin looked at the guitar in her hands, running her fingers over the strings without making a sound. When she finally spoke, her voice was laden with an old pain that had never quite healed. "I played in pubs and restaurants. Nothing glamorous, but it was my life. I earned enough to live. I was happy. When I found out I was expecting Aisling, I became even more motivated. I wanted to show my daughter that it was possible to live by art, to live doing what you love." Ife sat on Liam's lap, listening intently, but her father disappeared when he found out about the pregnancy. And after Aisling was born, things got complicated. I couldn't take night gigs anymore because I had no one to leave the baby with. The places that hired me during the day paid very little. Bills accumulated, the rent fell behind. Until one day, I received an eviction notice. Liam felt a knot in his throat. He knew numbers, profits, losses, but he had never truly considered what it meant not to have enough money to keep a roof over one's head. "My mother offered to help," Roisin continued, and now tears streamed freely down her face. "She said Aisling could live with her in County Clare, attend the local school in her village. At first, I refused. I couldn't imagine being away from my daughter. But then, Aisling got a severe respiratory infection. She needed expensive medicines, specialist consultations. That's when I realized my love wasn't enough, that my good intentions wouldn't pay for antibiotics. So you sent her away," Liam said softly, "and it wasn't a question. I did. With my heart broken into 1,000 pieces, I sent my 3-year-old daughter to live with her granny and came to the big city, where the jobs paid better. I learned to clean houses, iron clothes, cook. I put music aside because it represented everything I had lost, but I never sold this guitar." Roisin clutched the instrument to her chest. "It's all that's left of that time, of the person I used to be." Ife slipped from Liam's lap and went to Roisin, hugging her with the strength only children can put into gestures of comfort. "You're a very brave mammy, Auntie Roisin." Roisin sobbed, hugging the little girl back. "Sometimes I don't feel brave. Sometimes I feel like the worst mother in the world for not being there to comb her hair in the morning, to help with her homework, to sing with her before she sleeps." Liam watched that scene, and something inside him irrevocably broke. He thought of all the mornings he had missed with Aif, all the homework he had never overseen, all the lullabies he had never sung. The difference was that Roisin had no choice. He did. "Roisin," he said, his voice firm despite the emotion. "How much do you send your mother for Aisling each month?" Roisin looked at him, confused by the change of subject. "Mr. O'Connell, that's not how much," he insisted more gently. €200. That's the most I can save from my salary. It covers her school fees, materials, clothes, a portion of my mother's household expenses." Liam did quick calculations in his head. "And if you could send double or triple that, would your mother be able to structure an even better life for Aisling?" "She would, but I couldn't." Roisin paused, realizing where the conversation was heading. "Mr. O'Connell, I'm not asking for a raise. That's not why I told you my story. I know, but I'm offering it anyway. In fact, it's not just a raise." Liam stood up, beginning to pace the room, his corporate mind working at maximum speed, but this time in service of something greater than profit margins. "You'll continue working here, but not just as a cleaner. I want you to be Awif's music teacher. Officially, with a contract, registered employment, a salary befitting a qualified educator." Roisin's mouth fell open. "But I don't have formal musical training. I never went to university for." "You have something better than a diploma. You have real talent, stage experience, and most importantly, you have the gift of teaching. I've seen the transformation in my daughter. That is priceless." Liam stopped in front of her. "And there's more. I want you to bring Aisling here to live." The room fell into absolute silence. Even Oifa stopped moving. "What?" Roisin whispered. "There's a vacant flat in the staff annex. Maeve lives there alone and always says the place is too big for one person. Aisling can live with you, attend an excellent school here in the city. I won't charge rent, obviously. And with your new salary, you'll be able to rebuild your lives together." Roisin began to tremble. "Mr. O'Connell, it's too generous. I can't accept. It would be taking advantage of. It's not generosity, it's justice." Liam knelt in front of her, looking into the eyes of the woman who had given his daughter what he could not. "Presence, attention, unconditional love. You are giving my daughter something priceless. Let me give you the chance to be with yours. Besides, Aif will love having a friend in the same house. Won't you, princess?" Afa jumped with enthusiasm. "Yes, Aisling can sleep here all the time. We can sing together, play together. Please, Auntie Roisin, say yes." Roisin covered her face with her hands, sobbing in a way that made her whole body shake. They were tears of years of sacrifice, of nights crying alone, of missed birthdays, of hugs she couldn't give, and now, unexpectedly, the possibility of rebuilding everything that had crumbled. "I don't know what to say," she murmured between sobs. "Say yes," Liam replied simply, "and let me do something right for once in my life." Roisin lifted her tear-streaked face and met Liam's eyes. There stood a man she had judged as distant and cold, revealing himself capable of a compassion she never expected to find. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I accept, and thank you so much." Aif cried out with joy and threw herself into Roisin's and Liam's arms at the same time, creating an awkward, yet genuine, group hug. There in that room, 3 lives that had been shaped by absence began to heal through presence. "When can we go get Aisling?" Aif asked, practically vibrating with excitement. Roisin chuckled through her tears. "I need to talk to my mother, organize everything. But if Mr. O'Connell allows it, can I travel next weekend?" "Use the company car," Liam offered immediately, "and take Aife with you. I think the two of them should get to know each other before becoming housemates. I'm going to meet Aisling." Aif ran in circles around the room. "I'm going to meet Aisling." As the little girl celebrated, Liam and Roisin exchanged a look that spoke volumes: gratitude, hope, and the recognition that sometimes the most important changes in life happen in the most unexpected moments. And so, what had begun as a secret music club was transforming into something far greater, an unlikely family, bound not by blood, but by acts of kindness and second chances. Liam didn't sleep that night. He stayed up until 3 a.m. in the estate study, not reviewing contracts or analyzing investments, but doing something entirely different, planning how to help Roisin rebuild her dreams. He opened spreadsheets, not of profits and losses, but of budgets for musical equipment, He researched music schools, community arts, education programs, local venues. With each discovery, he felt more energized, more alive than he had in years of million-euro negotiations. When the sun rose, Liam had a plan. The next morning, he did something he hadn't done in almost 4 years. He had a full breakfast with Aife. Not a hurried 15 minutes, but an entire hour. They talked about everything and nothing. Aife recounted a dream where she was a star that descended from the sky, and Liam discovered his daughter had an extraordinary imagination. "Daddy, you look different," Aife observed, tilting her head to the side as she chewed a piece of toast with jam. "Different how, princess?" "Brighter, like when Auntie Roisin smiles." The simplicity of the observation touched Liam deeply. He was different. For the first time in years, he had a purpose that didn't solely involve accumulating more zeros in his bank account. When Roisin arrived promptly at 8 a.m., Liam was waiting in the drawing room. She immediately sensed something was amiss. "Good morning, Mr. O'Connell. Has something happened? Please, sit here. I need to talk to you about something important." Roisin sat on the edge of the sofa, clearly nervous. Maeve appeared with fresh coffee and biscuits, then discreetly disappeared. "I was thinking about our conversation yesterday," Liam began. "About you having 5 houses to clean. About Aisling. About the dreams you left behind." "Mr. O'Connell, I didn't tell you that for you to feel pity for me." "It's not pity, Roisin. It's recognition." He leaned forward. "Roisin, you have extraordinary talent. I saw how Aife blossomed in just 2 weeks under your guidance. That's not common. And to waste that talent, cleaning houses 16 hours a day, when you could be transforming lives through music, is a crime. It's easy to say that when you have money, Mr. O'Connell. My reality is different. And what if we could change your reality?" Roisin frowned. "I don't understand." Liam pulled a folder from the coffee table. "Last night, I did some calculations. If you were to leave the other 4 houses and dedicate yourself solely to teaching music, how much would you need to earn per month to maintain your current standard of living and continue supporting Aisling?" "Mr. O'Connell, that's madness. I can't just—" "How much?" he insisted. Roisin hesitated, then mentioned a figure. Liam nodded and opened the folder, revealing printed documents. "This is a formal proposal. I want you to become a resident here at the estate. You'll teach Aife, of course, but I also want to open the doors to other children from the area, children of my staff, children from families who can't afford private lessons. We'll transform the music room that I never use into a small studio." Roisin stared at the papers, her eyes wide. "You're serious?" "Completely. The salary I'm offering is 3 times what you mentioned. You'd work 6 hours a day, Monday to Friday, only here. You'd have weekends free. And what's more, I've included monthly travel arrangements for you to visit Aisling, and if you wish, we can bring your mother and daughter to live here in the city. I have a vacant apartment in a building I own." Tears began to roll down Roisin's face before she could stop them. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you gave me my daughter back. Because you showed me I was living wrong." "Why?" Liam paused, grappling with his own emotions. "Because I spent years building an empire and forgot to build a life. And if I can use my resources to help you rebuild your dreams while transforming the lives of other children, then my money will finally have a real purpose." Roisin covered her face with her hands, sobbing. Maeve, who had been listening from the kitchen, appeared with tissues and a silent embrace. "I don't know what to say," Roisin managed to articulate through her tears. "Say yes. Give yourself the chance to dream again." Roisin looked at the documents, then at Liam, and finally nodded. "Yes, yes, I accept." Aife, who had been peeking from the staircase, scampered down and threw herself into Roisin's arms. "This means you're staying with us forever." "Auntie Roisin," Roisin chuckled through her tears. "It means we'll have much more time to make music together, my love." The transformation began immediately. Liam cancelled meetings and personally oversaw the renovation of the music room. He hired an architect specializing in studios, bought quality instruments, installed proper acoustic insulation. Within 10 days, the space was ready, a welcoming environment, with guitars, keyboards, microphones, and even a small children's drum kit. Roisin left the other homes, not without emotionally thanking the families who had employed her for years. The news spread quickly through the neighborhood. A week later, 5 children were enrolled for free lessons, but not everything was smooth sailing. The change brought unexpected challenges. In the 3rd week of the new arrangement, Liam arrived home to find Roisin weeping in the empty music room. It was 7 p.m. Lessons had already finished. "Roisin, what happened?" She quickly wiped her tears. "I'm sorry, it's nothing." "Clearly it's something. You can talk to me." Roisin took a deep breath. This morning, I received a call from Aisling's school. She's struggling to adjust. The other children are bullying her because they found out her mother is a cleaner. Well, was a cleaner. Children can be cruel. It's not just that. Aisling asked when I'm coming to get her. She said she misses me, that she doesn't want to stay with her great-granny anymore. And Roisin's voice broke. I don't know if I made the right choice. Maybe I should have just continued as things were. At least it was a life I knew. Liam sat beside her. Changes are frightening, Roisin, especially when they involve the people we love. But you weren't living before. You were just surviving. And Aisling doesn't need an exhausted mother who can barely stand. She needs you whole, present. But she's hurting now. Then bring her here, now, this weekend. The apartment is ready, furnished, waiting. Your mother and Aisling can move in immediately. Oif will love having a new friend. And you'll get to see your daughter every day. Roisin looked at him in disbelief. Are you serious? When will I stop asking you that? Liam smiled. I've already arranged enrollment at 3 excellent schools near the apartment. You choose which one you prefer. And if Aisling also has musical talent like her mother, she can have lessons here too. I don't know how to thank you. Help me be a better father to Afe. That's all the thanks I need. That weekend, a car collected Roisin's mother and Aisling from County Clare. When they arrived at the estate, Afe was vibrating with excitement. The 9-year-old girl who stepped out of the car was shy, with huge eyes and a worn violin in her hand. Are you Aisling? Afe shrieked, running to embrace the older girl. Auntie Roisin talks about you every day. Do you want to be my best friend? Aisling looked at her mother, who nodded encouragingly, and then smiled. Yes, I do. Liam watched from a distance, seeing the pieces fall into place. Roisin's mother, Kathleen, a woman with white hair and a warm smile, squeezed his hand with surprising strength. May God bless you, sir, for all you're doing for my granddaughter and great-granddaughter. You're a good-hearted man. Just a man trying to mend years of wrong choices, Kathleen, Liam replied. That night, for the first time, the estate felt truly full of laughter, of music, of life. Aife and Aisling played together, one on guitar and the other on violin, while Roisin sang and Liam filmed it all on his phone, utterly mesmerized. But amidst the joy, his phone rang. It was Brona, his business partner and ex-wife. We need to talk. Urgently, Liam stepped out into the garden to take Brona's call. The night was cold, and he could hear the laughter of Afe and Aisling through the illuminated drawing room windows. For a moment, he hesitated before answering. That voice on the other end of the line had the power to shatter the fragile peace he had finally built. Brona, Liam, we need to meet. Tomorrow. My solicitor will be present. His stomach clenched. Solicitor? What are you talking about? I've been giving a lot of thought to Aife, and the choices we made when we separated. Brona's voice was calculated, cold. I think we made a mistake leaving her in your sole custody. Liam felt the world spin. You can't be serious. You left, Brona. You chose your career in Paris and left me alone with a 6-month-old baby. And clearly, that was a mistake on your part. A daughter needs her mother, Liam. Especially now that I've discovered certain irregularities in how you're raising our daughter. Irregularities? Afe is happy. For the first time in years, she is genuinely happy. Yes, being raised by a cleaner, you've turned into what, exactly? An unqualified music teacher? A mother substitute? The venom in Brona's voice was palpable. My solicitor already has sufficient documentation to question your judgment. Liam, a 4-year-old child shouldn't be spending so much time with staff while her father neglects important meetings for what? Music sessions? How do you know that? Liam's anger rose in his throat. I have my contacts, and I have photos too. Afe, with this teacher, you, sitting on the floor in situations completely inappropriate for a CEO. Your company is suffering, Liam. 3 cancelled meetings last week, 2 lost contracts. Your partners are concerned. Liam clenched his fists. My personal life is not my partner's concern. It is when it affects the bottom line, and it is when it involves my daughter. Bronov paused dramatically. I'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. at my solicitor's office. I suggest you bring your own. We'll discuss a new custody arrangement. One where Afe lives with me in Paris and you have supervised visits. The call ended before Liam could reply. He stood in the garden, trembling not from the cold, but from fury and fear. Brona couldn't do this, not after 4 years of near-total absence. Not now that he was finally learning to be a father. When he went back inside, his face must have been a sight, because Roisin approached him immediately. Liam, are you all right? I need to talk to you, privately. They went to his study while Kathleen took over supervising the girls. Liam told her everything, every poisonous word from Brona, every veiled threat. Roisin blanched. This is my fault. I shouldn't have accepted this position. I've complicated your life. No, Liam held her shoulders firmly. You saved my life, Roisin. You saved Aufe. Brona is doing this because she's always been this way, a woman who wants control, who can't stand to lose. But she is right about one thing. Roisin pulled away, hugging herself. I don't have formal qualifications. I didn't finish the conservatory. If a judge examines this, a judge will see a dedicated woman who transformed a sad child into a radiant child. That's worth more than any diploma. You're being too optimistic. The system favors biological mothers, especially when they have money and expensive solicitors. Roisin sank heavily into a chair. And she's right about something else too. Your company is suffering. I saw the emails on your computer when I was cleaning the study earlier. I know you're losing contracts. Liam ran a frustrated hand through his hair. Some contracts. Nothing that compromises the company for now. But if Brona uses that against you, she can paint a picture where you're being irresponsible, where you're putting Afi at risk because of me. Because of impulsive decisions motivated by an employee. The silence that settled was heavy. Liam knew Roisin was right. Brona was a strategist, always had been. She waited for the perfect moment to strike, when he was vulnerable, when he had something precious to lose. So, what do you suggest? He asked, dreading the answer. That I leave, that you go back to your routine, prove that you're a stable, responsible father. Aoife will survive without the music lessons. No. Aoife's voice echoed from the study's half-open door. The little girl stood there, tears streaming down her face, holding Aisling's hand. Auntie Roisin can't leave. She can't. Roisin rushed to Aoife and knelt. My love, it's complicated. Sometimes, adults have to make difficult choices. But you promised. You promised we'd put on a real show. You promised you'd teach me more songs. Aif's voice was laden with pain, that kind of betrayal children feel when adults break promises. Liam watched the scene, feeling his heart break into pieces. He had spent years absent, letting Aoife be raised by staff. And now that he had finally built something real, Brona appeared to destroy everything. Aoife's right. Aisling's voice, usually shy, sounded surprisingly firm. You can't give up, Mammy. Not again. Roisin looked at her daughter in surprise. Mammy, you gave up the conservatory for me. You gave up music for me. You spent 9 years cleaning houses for me. The 9-year-old girl's eyes were brimming with tears. I always knew. I always felt it. And I always felt guilty. But now, for the first time, I've seen you truly happy. I've seen you shine. And I won't let you give up again. Not for me. Not for anyone. The girl's words fell like bombs in the room. Roisin covered her mouth, sobbing. Your talent is worth fighting for, Mammy. And Aoife deserves to have you in her life, just like I always did. Aisling hugged Aoife. We both deserve it. Liam felt something stir within him. Those two children, with their innocent wisdom and brutal honesty, were showing the way. Aisling's right, he said with a firm voice. We won't back down. We won't let Brona win by intimidation. Roisin looked up, still crying. But what if you lose Aoife? I'd never forgive myself. And I'd never forgive myself if I let you sacrifice your dreams again. Not for me, not for anyone. Liam knelt beside the three of them. We'll fight this together, as a family. But we're not a family, Roisin whispered. No. Aoife took Roisin's hand and Liam's, joining them as they did after the songs. But we do this. We look after each other. We love each other. Isn't that family? In the simple way only children can. Aoife had summarized everything. That night, Liam didn't sleep. He worked until dawn, not running from his responsibilities, but organizing them. He sent emails to his partners, explaining that he would make adjustments to his schedule, but would not compromise the company. He scheduled critical meetings, delegated what could be delegated, and prioritized what truly mattered. At 7 a.m., he called the best family solicitor he knew. Ronan, I need you, urgently. At the 10 a.m. meeting, Liam arrived prepared. Brona was impeccable, as always, in an Italian designer suit and perfect makeup. Her solicitor, a middle-aged man with shark-like eyes, already had a pile of documents on the table. Liam, glad you came. Let's get straight to the point. Brona crossed her legs, the picture of confidence. I want full custody of Aoife. You can visit her during holidays, under supervision. No. The word came out simple, firm, leaving no room for negotiation. Brona blinked, clearly not expecting such resistance. Excuse me? I said no. You abandoned your daughter when she was 6 months old. You didn't send birthday presents. You didn't make video calls. You didn't ask how she was. Liam opened his own folder. I have 4 years of records proving your complete absence. And now you want custody? Why, exactly? Brono's solicitor tried to intervene. My client was building her career. Your client made a choice. I respect that choice, but I won't let her destroy Aife's life now, simply because she suddenly remembered she has a daughter. She's being raised by an unqualified employee. Brona slammed her hand on the table. I'm being helped by a talented educator who brought happiness back to my daughter. And that educator has more love and dedication in her little finger than you demonstrated in 4 entire years. Ronan, Liam's solicitor, placed documents on the table. We have witness testimonials, medical records showing the child's positive development, and videos demonstrating a healthy emotional bond. Furthermore, we have a complete history of Mrs. Brona's absence. You can't prove negligence on my part, Brona countered, but her voice had lost its confidence. We don't need to. We only need to prove that Aife is better off where she is, and that will be very easy. The meeting stretched for 3 tense hours. Threats were made, and threats were met. But in the end, when it became clear that Liam would not back down, and that Brona had no solid legal basis, an agreement was reached. Supervised visits for Brona, 1 month of holidays per year, but custody remaining with Liam. When he left the solicitor's office, Liam was exhausted, but relieved. The battle wasn't completely won, but he had gained crucial ground. Arriving home, he found Aife, Aisling, and Roisin in the music room. They were rehearsing something, with Roisin playing the guitar, and the 2 girls singing in imperfect, yet beautiful, harmony. When they saw him, Aife dropped everything and ran. Daddy, Auntie Roisin is staying? Liam hugged his daughter tightly. Yes, princess, she is. No one is going anywhere. Roisin met his gaze over Aife's head, and there was gratitude and something deeper in those eyes, something neither of them was ready to name yet. Now, Liam said, sitting on the floor, I hear you're preparing a show. May I watch the rehearsal? And for the first time in days, music once again filled that house. Not perfectly, not professionally, but with something far more valuable. True love. But outside, Brona, sitting in her car, stared at the estate with calculating eyes. This wasn't over. Not yet. 3 weeks passed since the meeting with Brona. The house had found a new rhythm, an imperfect but genuine harmony. Liam completely restructured his schedule, delegating responsibilities and prioritizing what truly mattered. His company not only survived the change, but prospered in unexpected ways as he began to lead with more balance and mental clarity. The music lessons grew. There were now 12 children, children of company employees, neighbors, families who had heard about the magical teacher who taught not only music but also self-confidence and joy. The music room buzzed with laughter, out-of-tune notes, and small daily miracles. But Aife had a bigger dream. Daddy, she said one Saturday morning, as they had breakfast together, a tradition Liam would never miss now. I want to put on a real show. With a stage, a microphone and everything, like the artists on telly. Liam exchanged a look with Roisin, who was preparing juice in the kitchen. A show? Is that serious? Very serious. Aife slammed her tiny hand on the table with determination. Auntie Roisin says when you learn something beautiful, you have to share it with the world. And I want to share it. Roisin approached, drying her hands on her apron. Liam, I didn't want to plant that idea in her head without speaking to you first, but she's right. Liam finished, smiling. Then we'll put on a show. A real show? Aife's eyes lit up like stars. Really, Daddy? Truly? Truly. How about we hold it in the garden? Liam suggested. We can invite the families of the other children, some friends. It will be our first official concert. Aife leaped from her chair and hugged her father with such force, she nearly knocked him over. Roisin watched the scene, tears in her eyes, marveling at the transformation of the man who, just over a month ago, barely knew his own daughter. Preparations began immediately. Liam hired a company to set up a small stage in the garden with a professional sound system and appropriate lighting. Roisin worked tirelessly with the children, creating a repertoire of 5 songs that blended children's tunes with original arrangements she herself composed. Aisling, with her violin, would be the accompanying musician. Kathleen sewed simple, yet beautiful, dresses for the girls. Maeve planned a celebratory feast. The entire estate was buzzing with the magic being created. But 2 days before the show, something unexpected happened. Liam received a call from an unknown number. It was a music producer named Seamus O'Reilly, who had heard about the project through one of the parents whose child worked in the entertainment industry. Mr. O'Connell, I know this might seem strange, but I'd like to attend the show. I'm interested in seeing Miss Roisin's work. I've heard remarkable things about her methods. Liam, suspicious but intrigued, agreed. He didn't mention anything to Roisin, so as not to build her hopes up. The day of the show arrived with a perfectly blue sky. The garden was transformed, with the stage set up, chairs arranged in a semicircle, and colorful decorations. Afe had insisted on helping to choose. 50 people attended, parents, staff, some of Liam's friends, and, sitting discreetly at the back, Seamus O'Reilly, the producer. When Roisin stepped onto the stage for the introduction, she was visibly nervous. It had been years since she last performed in public. Liam, seated in the front row with Kathleen, sent her an encouraging smile. "Good afternoon, everyone," Roisin began, her voice trembling slightly. "A few months ago, I was just a cleaner with dreams tucked away at the back of a wardrobe. Today, thanks to Liam's generosity and the unconditional love of some incredible children, I'm here doing what I've always loved, sharing music and joy." She paused, looking towards Aoife, who waited in the improvised wings. This show is about second chances. It's about never being too late to start again. And it's about the transformative power of a child who decides to believe in you. The lights dimmed, save for a spotlight illuminating the center of the stage. Aoife emerged, dressed in a yellow dress that shimmered like the sun, clutching the microphone with small, yet firm, hands. Roisin began to play, and the first note that flowed from the guitar was pure, crystalline, perfect. And then Aoife began to sing. Her voice was still childlike, still had technical imperfections, but there was something in it that touched the soul. She sang about stars descending from the sky, about dreams residing within the heart, about love that healed wounds. Every word was sung with a brutal sincerity, that emotional honesty only children possess. The other children joined for the second song, forming an imperfect, yet moving, chorus. Aisling played her violin with her eyes closed, lost in the music. Roisin conducted everything with silent mastery, her talent finally free to shine. Liam couldn't stop crying. He looked around and saw he wasn't alone. Parents discreetly dabbed their eyes. Kathleen openly sobbed. Even Maeve, usually so composed, had tears streaming down her face. During the fourth song, something unexpected happened. Aoife stopped singing mid-sentence, looked at the audience, and spoke directly to her father. "Daddy, this song is for you." Roisin began a soft chord, and Aoife sang with her little voice. "Before you didn't see me, you were far away, unaware, but you came back to me, and now I can see you. Love lives right here inside. No need to search, just open your heart and let love in." The simple lyrics, obviously written with Roisin's help, utterly broke Liam. He no longer tried to hide his tears, letting them fall freely as his daughter sang about forgiveness, about new beginnings, about the journey they had taken together. When the last song ended, the silence that followed was sacred. For a moment, no one moved. Then, one person began to applaud, then another and another. In seconds, the entire garden erupted in deafening applause. The children took their bows, as Roisin had taught them. Aoife ran straight into her father's arms, and Liam hugged her as if she were the most precious thing in the universe, because she was. "I love you, Daddy. Thank you for staying. I love you, Princess. Thank you for showing me how." As the crowd began to disperse for the feast Maeve had prepared, Seamus O'Reilly approached Roisin. "Miss Roisin, my name is Seamus O'Reilly. I'm a music producer and director of the City Music Academy here." Roisin immediately tensed. "Mr. O'Reilly, if you're here to criticize the children's lack of formal technique, I'm here to offer you a position," he interrupted gently. "We need teachers who teach not just notes, but soul, who transform lives, not just voices. You have a rare gift, Roisin, a gift that isn't learned in universities." Roisin was speechless. The position comes with a competitive salary, full creative freedom, and the opportunity to expand your work to hundreds of disadvantaged children in the city. And before you ask, no, you don't need a formal diploma. Your work speaks for itself. Liam appeared beside Roisin, having heard everything. "And she can continue giving private lessons here too. That's non-negotiable." Seamus smiled. "Of course. In fact, I'd like Aoife and some of these children to participate in our annual recital, with your permission, of course." Roisin covered her mouth, trying to process it all. Aoife, who had run over to them, clutched Roisin's skirt. "Will you accept, Auntie Roisin, please?" I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Liam encouraged. "Your dreams have returned, Roisin. Don't let them go again." Roisin looked at Aoife, then at Aisling, who watched from a distance with a proud smile, then at Kathleen, who nodded enthusiastically, and finally at Liam, the man who had risked everything to defend her place in their lives. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I accept." The sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of gold and rose. The garden was filled with laughter, with music played by children experimenting with instruments, with animated conversations, and the delicious scent of Maeve's food. Liam stood in the midst of it all, observing. 3 months ago, that house was a silent mausoleum of empty success. Today, it was a vibrant, chaotic home, brimming with life and love. Ife ran to him once more, pulling his hand. "Daddy, come on. Auntie Roisin is going to teach everyone to dance." And Liam, the CEO who commanded a €1 billion company, who closed international deals and moved millions, allowed himself to be dragged by his 4-year-old daughter into an impromptu circle where children and adults danced without rhythm, but with pure joy. As he twirled Aife in his arms, his eyes met Roisin's, who played the guitar in the center of the circle. Something passed between them, a profound recognition. It wasn't romance, at least not yet. It was something more fundamental, mutual gratitude for having saved each other from lives that were prosperous, but empty. That night, after everyone had left and Aife finally fell asleep clutching her toy microphone, Liam and Roisin sat on the garden steps, watching the stars. "Thank you," Liam said simply. "For what?" "For showing me that success without meaning isn't success. For giving me back my daughter. For teaching me that sometimes the most valuable things in life come wrapped in packages we'd never expect." Roisin rested her head on his shoulder, an intimate yet innocent gesture. "Thank you for believing I was worth the risk. For giving me the chance to be who I was before the world convinced me to give up." "Never give up again, Roisin." "Promise?" "I promise. If you promise the same, I promise." And there, under a sky full of stars, 2 broken adults found not just healing, but also purpose. A cleaner who became a musician again, a tech mogul who learned to be a father, and a 4-year-old girl who, unknowingly, orchestrated a miracle with nothing but hope and a song. A few months later, the music room at the estate had a new plaque on its door. The Aufe and Roisin Music Academy, where dreams find melodies. And inside, every day, children from all parts of the city learned that no matter where you came from or how much money you had, music and love were universal languages that could transform any life willing to listen. Liam never missed another performance. Brona eventually gave up her legal battles and returned to Paris, visiting Auife only during holidays, where she slowly began to rebuild a relationship with her daughter on the child's own terms. Aisling became first violinist in the city's youth orchestra. Kathleen managed the academy with a firm but loving hand. Maeve discovered a talent for singing and began lessons with Roisin. And Aife grew up knowing she was loved unconditionally, that her dreams mattered, and that sometimes miracles come disguised as improbable encounters between people who needed each other exactly. Because in the end, that wasn't a story about a tech mogul and a cleaner. It was a story about the redemptive power of love, about second chances, and about how a single child with a pure heart could change the destiny of everyone around her.